For anyone tuning in for the first time, our channel is all about finance and how to put yourself on a path to achieve financial freedom. Financial freedom is when you have more passive income than earned income, or simply put, when your investments make more money than what it costs you to live. And today we're going to talk about all of the traps that can stop you from ever achieving this goal. Before we start, please hit the like button so we can get this video out to more and more people. And if you like what you see, hit the subscribe button and join this journey with the rest of us. The first trap that stops people to ever achieve financial freedom is the belief that it's not even possible. That you have to be an elite or an heir to an elite that gets this passed down to you. And if you're just a normal person, you'll always be poor or maybe middle class at best. Now, it's not true, but the challenge is if you believe it, your belief becomes your reality and then you never achieve it. So the first thing we need to work on is how to get you past that to know it's available. Now, if you grow up in a wealthy household, the thing or the advantage they do have is they have an abundance mentality. They know that it's possible because they're seeing it with their parents. Not everybody has that. So if you grew up in a household that is really common for a lot of us, where you might have asked for a new bike and your parents said, "We can't afford that," instead of saying, "How do I afford it?" Or if you were taught that money's evil and that any act to go out and get it or manage it will corrupt us so that we should always stay away from it. Now, that upbringing will hold us back. So if we grew up in that, we're definitely going to have to work through some of those barriers so that we can go and be on our path. Something that we did create, and we'll put a link in the comment, is a whole mini course. It's about 30 minutes long. It's totally free, and it helps you work through some of these, what would you call it, boundaries that some of us had from this upbringing that will really help you get on this path. But first and foremost, if you don't believe it's possible, nothing we say following this will ever be used to do it. So very first step, you have to believe that it's available. The second trap that stops us from this freedom is not knowing what our financial freedom number is. Now, if we don't know the goal or the finish line, how are we supposed to know if we're heading down the right direction, or more importantly, when the job is done? Something I see pretty frequently now is when I refer people to Randy. And you've heard about Randy. Randy's my mentor. And one of the first things he'll ask you is, what's your financial freedom number? At what point will you be able to be financially free? Or how much interest do we need to make you on your investments for you to not have to work? 95% of people hadn't thought about it. And it kind of lines up with purpose. When we don't know what our purpose is, it's impossible for us to gauge if we're doing what we're supposed to do. Same thing with this. If we don't know what our number is, we can't then go out and find the assets to help us get to that goal. So you have to know the number. The other thing is knowing when to stop. With money, it's really easy to fall into this greed trap and constantly want more. And if we don't know when to stop, that's kind of when you start seeing people who are constantly trying to find joy in money and are always being let down. So this lets us know that the job is done. For me personally, towards the end of my skate career, my family was living off about $150,000. So the way that I was tracking my goal was I was expecting investments to pay me 5% annually. And in that, I knew I needed about $3 million to get to my freedom number. Now, the cool thing about this, there's a lot of different ways to get there. You can make more than 5%, which would mean you need less than $3 million. You maybe don't need to live off 150 grand, or maybe you want more. The point is, I knew what I needed to get done. One thing to remember, when you get there, it's okay for you to then go, you know what? I want to increase this, and then change the goal. But kind of how we view it is set the goal, get there, give yourself the choice, then make the decision. The third trap is not tracking the process. And there's kind of two steps to this. There's tracking your expenses and tracking your investments. And with your expenses, you have to tell your dollars where to go, or they'll go where they want. And really what that means is your money disappears. And so when you basically tell them what to do, then each month you actually can track if they're doing what they're meant to do. It's really similar to the last trap, giving your dollars a purpose so then you could gauge if they're doing what it is they're meant to do. The other part is tracking your investments, tracking your net worth, tracking your cash flows, and monitoring the performance of your assets based on the expectations of them. What's cool too is this is where you get to see your progress or how close you're beginning to get to your financial goal. For real estate, something that we do is we track the cash flow that comes in from the asset, we track the appreciation or how much it's grown, and it makes it really easy for us to go, okay, I'm half of the way there. I need 3 more buildings for me to get to my goal. And just being able to see the path is very encouraging to know what needs to be done to get there. As far as how frequently you should be checking this, some people say daily, weekly, monthly, you kind of hear it all. For myself, my wife and I look at our expenses twice a month. The first and third week of the month, we have in the calendar a date night, and after dinner, we basically go over our budget, track how we're doing, and also setting expectations for the next month. For investments, we typically go over them once a month, I think at most twice a month. This is really you finding the sweet spot that works for you. The only thing is, don't check this thing so frequently that you then get yourself into what we call analysis paralysis. Make sure that you're checking it enough to be aware of what's happening and that it's not stopping you from then moving forward and doing what needs to be done. Fourth, keeping up with the Joneses or comparing ourselves to others. This will destroy all hopes of being financially free. And really what happens, it ends up stealing your joy and really can distort the truth, because there will always be somebody who has more than you. And when your goal is to spend money you don't have to keep up with people that you don't know, financial freedom is not an option. The goal to financial freedom is being disciplined and staying on your path. And that path just happens to be the path less traveled. So what we're doing is sacrificing things today so that we can put money into investments that then give us freedom in the future. If our goal is to please others and make them think we have more than we do, we will never put dollars into assets, because our goal is the perception of what people think of us, not actual freedom. The last trap to achieving financial freedom is our ego. And this one you happen to see actually with doctors. Doctors have the hardest time investing because they're so smart and they're so used to always being right that they think they can apply that same reasoning that they have in their field in investing. And then on top of that, they get their information from the media and investing journals, and they have a hard time seeing the difference between what the purpose of media is and the purpose of investing. Media, their purpose is to grab attention, not make returns. So they end up gathering their information from there, and then when it comes time to making decisions, they're listening to the talking head as opposed to the people really doing it. The thing to add to it is, if you're going to be an active investor, it's totally fine for you to gather information and go and do it. But for a doctor doesn't have the time to master a craft, go out and build a portfolio. So they typically are looking for groups to invest in, and they have a really hard time listening to the people doing it, and then they end up sacrificing investment. The other part of ego is when it comes to loss. A lot of times our ego won't allow us to accept loss. Like, I'm Mikey Taylor, I can't be wrong. What are people gonna think of me? Are they still gonna watch our channel? And that ego ends up putting ourselves in a position where we hang on longer than we should and make a bad situation worse. The truth is, everyone gets it wrong, but that's not the purpose of investing. The purpose of investing isn't to always be right. The purpose is to perfect your strategy and get better and better at it as time goes on. So to close, the 5 traps that stop us from becoming financially free are: 1, not thinking it's possible; 2, not knowing our financial freedom number; 3, not tracking the process; 4, comparing ourselves to others; and 5, our ego. That also is the roadmap of how it needs to be done. Thank you guys for watching this video. If you know anybody that this might help, please share the video, and we'll see you guys next week.